nanohub.org.
Online simulation, and more for nanotechnology.
All right, thanks everyone. Welcome to our seminar series for the Micro Nanotechnology Education Center. Today we are going to learn about back to school STEM in NASA education by Brandon Rodriguez. So go for it, Brandon.
Sure. Thanks so much. Great to get my turn at this. It's definitely going to be a little bit of a pivot from some of the more technical talks, and this is going to be really looking more at educational resources, educational research, and some of the things that we're doing at NASA Education. As mentioned, my name is Brandon Rodriguez. I've worked with Jared now for what seems like an eternity. Like working with Jared is like living in 2020, right? I mean, it's just can't end. I keep saying I'm going to get out and never really do. But I've worked with him now in a couple roles, both as like Brandon the human and Brandon the NASA employee. And so this talk is going to be a little bit of both caps. And I try to be very intentional about like when I'm, one person or the other. So I'll kind of switch hats a little bit throughout. I'll tell you background on Brandon the human. I worked as a research scientist for probably 7 years before coming to JPL. I got to JPL about 4 years ago. So I worked for Dow Chemical in the private sector. I was a chemist by trade, but much like I think many of us, the one thing I wish students understood is that no matter what you get your degrees in, it's not what you do in your job, right? So I mean, what Ashcroft and I were doing in graduate school is absolutely nowhere linked to what we're doing now. So I was actually a synthetic chemist looking at catalysis. I was a polymer catalyst guy. And then I got to Dow, and it was really interesting. They basically told me there are 2 projects you can choose from. You can work on the cracker, right? Make natural gas turn into plastic a little bit more efficiently because it's a volume game. So if you get that cracker from 99.1% to 99.2%, that's millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. So we just want to turn it up a little bit. Or they said you can work on this bio project. You can start doing like biochemistry and make green plastic, but it's never going to work. It's probably never going to be like cash effective. So, it's doomed to fail. And I said, I want that thing, right? Like I was young and I wanted to do something like exciting instead of just, turn the dial a little bit. And this turned out to be a really, really great opportunity because I led a platform that no one cared about at first. And then oil prices skyrocketed to, $120 a barrel. And all of a sudden, everyone wanted to talk. So it was a really, really exciting time in science. Now, not so much, but so it was a really cool opportunity to learn something wildly new, travel the world. I worked in Shanghai, I worked in Brazil and Australia. They would send me out for 6 months, 9 months at a time. So it was really just the dream. However, industry was kind of takes a toll on you a little bit when you're just talking about shareholders and stock prices and all that stuff. So I took a year off to teach. I said, I'm going to do the soul searching thing. I was, I don't know, 28 at the time, 29. So I taught high school for a year, and then I actually got a call from NASA, and they said, we want you to do both. You let the pendulum swing too far. We want you to be, in the education department, work on outreach and lessons for teachers, but also still be a scientist. And that's kind of why I'm here now. So that's a long-winded way to say that I have this really awesome gig where I get to live kind of in 2 worlds. And I wanted to kind of share some of that for how this could potentially impact this group. So kind of jumping in, I'll show you guys, this is my team at PCC. I taught adjunct chemistry there for 2.5 years with Ashcroft. which is how he and I met. This was my last class before I left, standing there at the Curiosity Rover. Again, these kids are so spoiled because I can just take them to JPL whenever. They don't know how good they have it. I also taught science education at UC Riverside. So this was a group of teachers that were about to have their own classroom. And again, the gig is how can we teach teachers to teach science properly, right? A little bit of like the science turducken. But, again, when we look at the rates of drop-off, especially in women and minorities, as they go through school, looking at careers in STEM, they fall out of love with it. So how can we mitigate that? And that was kind of my role there. And then, as I mentioned, I teach high school as well. I still do. I teach part-time in the morning, just, sometimes 2-3 periods, depending on what they need, physics or chemistry. And again, these are my kiddos from 2 years back, actually. So, it's been really awesome, just like a really, really cool experience to, again, kind of have my feet in both pools. We were in a meeting recently where Kendrick had pointed out kind of the importance of, again, keeping social justice and equity at the forefront. And I wanted to point out that these two kids at the time, who are now college students, actually called me in the middle of the night a couple months ago, about 2 a.m. I get a phone call from the police station. And that's me bailing them out of jail because they were protesting downtown in LA. And I got to tell you, it was the proudest moment I've had as a teacher. I mean, just they didn't want their parents to find out. So they dug up my info and called me. And to go down there, they thought I was going to be so mad, but I was so happy. So I mentioned that because, again, I think that if we don't really identify ourselves as people that are a safe space, or someone that is for their cause, even if it's not your cause, it should be your cause, but even if it's not, that you will support their cause, that they know that they have someone they can reach out to, we're not doing enough. So you really have to really vocally, strongly indicate to our students that this is always a safe place, no matter your gender, ethnicity, sexuality, anything, so that it should be obvious to them that they can go to you. It shouldn't be am I safe to talk to this person about it? So that's kind of the shtick. That's kind of the background. Let me pause quick. I'm going to pause a lot and make sure that if you guys have any questions, because I'll get too ranty before I jump into the JPL side.
Did you go the traditional route for your education degree, or did you go an alternate route afterwards to get your teaching degree after you had your bachelor's, your master's, or PhD?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. Yeah. So I, when I started, I mentioned while I was at Dow, I kind of started to have these kind of these doubts. So I actually started taking master's education classes outside of work. And then when I had the master's, that's when I was ready to jump ship. So yeah, through that, I still needed to get credentialed, and just because, we got time and we're all friends here, it was really funny. I got credentialed in Texas at the time. I was in Houston. So I taught my year there. And then when I came to California, I said, hey, I'm a credentialed teacher. And they said, no, you're Texas credentialed. That's not worth much. You pretty much have to start from scratch. So I had to get re-credentialed. And it's hard to get angry when Texas still teaches equal time for creationism, and that sex ed is against the law. So can't fault them too much on that one. So I kind of wanted to show you guys a few things. Now I know that some of this stuff might not apply because we make outreach and educational activities for all grades, K through 12, right? And none of us are necessarily kindergarten teachers. But that being said, I did want to show a little bit of some of the work we do as a K-12 education organization. I'm going to show you guys a little bit about these websites in just a second. But one thing we do is obviously build activities for teachers. So these are lesson planned activities that are meant for teachers to be able to take off the shelf. And you can see at the top, we have this kind of like filterable website, right? So like, even for us, for example, like, when Jared and I were teaching Intro Chem at PCC, if I did something that was grade 10 through 12, that was still something that had applications in, an Intro Chem class at a community college, right? So like the kind of AP Chem level of our stuff was still pretty suitable for some of the intro classes. But the idea here again is, as a team of people who teach and are scientists, how can we write good lessons that teachers don't need to be, have a doctorate in science to be able to operate, right? So we make all the PDFs, we make all the student worksheets, we make the answer keys. That way teachers are kind of ready to roll with these. And I'll show you guys some examples in just a second. We also have, because of the fact that we've switched to this online environment, what we call the learn section. So instead of teach, the learn section is more a teacher assigns an activity to the students. So, as opposed to being up at the front and, speaking to the camera or the classroom, this is like you post this activity on your virtual classroom and kids have all of the steps to run through it independently. So this way, with everyone being in a more distance learning environment, they don't need to sit and hear you run through everything, especially when it comes to equity of access for internet and times on laptops and stuff like that. This way they can kind of work offline and then come back and like post their results or share their data and so forth. Outside of that, we have this website, and again, I'm going to walk through all these in a little bit more detail, called Teaching Space, and this is kind of an agglomeration of all of the things we do. So one of the things we're doing now is actually doing live webinars. So once a month on Wednesday, we do a general topic session for the audience. This brings in a couple thousand people at a time, which is pretty exciting. The last one was on the Deep Space Network. The one coming up next is on infrared astronomy. And then the Saturday following that Wednesday, again, once a month, we do a follow-up session just for teachers. So any educator that wants to see activities, resources aligned to Wednesday's talk would come out on Saturday morning, and this kind of like, we would walk through some of the lessons, say, hey, now that you have some content, here's some activities you can pair with that when you teach this material. So just real quick, what I wanted to do is actually show you a little bit about this website in action, if I may. So again, this is the website. It's got it's jpl.nasa.gov/edu. The link was just 2 slides ago. And then you can see these teach and learn sections that I highlighted here. And this is the kind of drop-down menu. This is a great one I put up just last week. So, again, I can filter through the grades I want, topics, search function, anything you like. Everything already has the next generation science standards, so the standards that teachers are required to teach in the year. And then again, you can see like just kind of independent management. So are you doing this online? Here's some extra tips, materials, how to kind of set the lesson up, and then examples. Follow-up lessons if you want to do similar things. Things that we work on pretty meticulously, a little bit slower going, is if you look at activities like this, you'll see, again, we're translating these into Spanish, just, for our Spanish-speaking students. And then we're also putting them into like suggested strings of like unit plans. So if you want more than one activity, if you want like an entire 5 or 10 lesson kind of lineup, then here are the kind of things that you guys can kind of do to string these together. And again, everything has student PDFs already made, so you can have handouts if we're ever back in a universe where you can hand things out, as well as answer keys, assessments, those types of things. So everything's really, really built with the premise of like, let's not make more work for educators, right? How can they really just hit the ground running? I mentioned this Teaching Space website here. So same, the website, again, from now just 1 slide ago, jpl.nasa.gov/edu/teaching-space. And this is where you'll see the lineup of all of our webinars. They get recorded, so if you want to watch the old ones, they're here. And this has been really exciting. We do it with, we just grab an SME to kind of pair with, and they kind of share some content. We do a little banter, little Q&A, and then you can ask questions to the speakers as well. So that's been a lot of fun. And then again, lessons that pair with each of the recorded activities. So I said we did Deep Space Network. So here are some activities, some games, some reading, etc. So it's kind of the one-stop shop for educators trying to, you know, really deep dive on a certain topic, but in a way that's not just like lecture, lecture, lecture. So now more than ever, you know, where everyone has Zoom fatigue, it's so easy to go to like the Learn section, type in Deep Space Network, say, hey guys, by next week, it'd be awesome if you guys posted your findings from this or read this article, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of our game plan. Yeah, Jim, I can't take too much credit for the layout. Our webmaster, her name is Kim Orr. She is superb. She absolutely takes all of our half-baked ideas like this. I'm like Ashcroft, right? Like this is what I do, right? This is what I give her, and then she turns it into not crap. So she's a blessing. She's has a journalism background too. So when she sees my writing, she's just like, oh, good God. So I definitely owe her an extra bottle of wine or something. So yes, I highly recommend tinkering around in these areas. I really am proud of this work. I absolutely will advocate for the hard work we've done. And again, I really do believe that it's because at JPL, we are not sitting in the ivory tower, right? My team is tiny. It's effectively 5 people. The 3 of us that write lessons, we're all ex-scientists, ex-teachers, right? And the fact that I still teach is really because I need that connection. I need to be grounded to what the classroom looks like before I'm going to tell teachers what they need to do. So Janet's asking about like special needs. Our ELL section is getting better. The SPED side, in fact, actually, if you see, that's something we're trying to work on too. I showed that color lesson. And so one of the considerations is obviously, what if one of your students is colorblind, right? So in the management section, you'll see that we tell teachers what you can do is number colors, right? So at least that way they can see a delta, even though they might not understand red versus the green. So yeah, we try to build in tips for accommodations that way. One of the things that we're struggling with, and we continue to struggle with, is when it comes to culturally responsive pedagogy or like being full out special education consideration, how do we do that in a way that is not, let's say, too broad brush? So like I teach in schools that are Title I, you know, effectively 100% Latin. So that's why I translate the lessons into Spanish. But someone doing this in Watts or Compton might not care about that the same way, right? Now, the problem is that we can't start writing lessons that are going to be 70 pages long saying, hey, do you teach with this community or this community? So we try to do workshops that will maybe tailor around culturally responsive pedagogy and special education, but we try not to have effectively a Cheesecake Factory menu of a lesson every single time that we put something together. Yeah, but it's tough. It is tough to navigate for sure. So let me just kind of jump back in here for a little bit then. So one of the things that that we try to do is break down our activities into certain types, and I kind of highlighted this a little bit, but I thought I would just deep dive just for a second. So one type of activity we plan is, again, this idea of students are working offline, students are independent learners. And again, I don't understand why more teachers don't operate under this methodology, especially in college. Like, it's easier. This is far easier for us as instructors to say, you do it, instead of, I'm going to stand here, I'm going to make 1,000 slides, I'm going to lecture tirelessly at you. So a lot of our activities are really about you do it, you explore this kind of constructionist, constructivist pedagogy where they get to play, they get to struggle, and then they come back and say, hey, that was really, really hard at first, and I got super frustrated, but I started to make some headway, and all of a sudden I saw the curve take off, right? That's what we want. That's the basis of any scientific research, of any science instruction. Yet we find ourselves in this kind of place where we're doing next slide, next slide, next slide, right? So, again, for younger kids, it was really cool. I stole this lesson from a teacher friend. She just had kids roll dice. You had to roll 2 dice, and each number corresponded to a planet or a stellar body, and they had to compare and contrast, right? See you later. Go do your work. You don't need me here breathing down your neck. Tomorrow, I want to see your work. Send a picture of it or scan it up to the digital classroom. Same thing with like a little egg drop challenge, right? Kids get a certain budget. There's an economic factor where, tissue paper costs so much, et cetera, et cetera. And they have, $50 million or something to drop an egg from a certain height, right? And kids come up with cool designs. And what's really awesome about it is, as much as teaching online is clearly the worst, and this is absolutely a hellscape, but kids are communicating in new and really exciting ways. So when they post a picture to their classroom, kids are cheating, but it's fantastic. It's the best type of cheating because they're seeing other designs and they're saying, I like that. I'm going to think critically about what this person did. I'm going to take that idea and I'm going to kind of roll with it. I'm going to edit our group. So now you're seeing kids posting and being, in fact, when I teach, as part of my rubric, kids have to give accolades to other student groups. So when a student posts a photo, part of their grade is saying, I really like this design. I think it's going to help my design, et cetera, right? So there are ways to use the online platform to be collaborative instead of just turn your mic off, turn your camera off, see you in an hour. And then same thing with, like posting multimedia stuff and this. So there's like students making a crater, just awesome little video demos. And these kids did some really awesome stuff where they looked at angle of impact and like height to look at the crater formation from there. So now you got kids kind of chucking this at 45 degrees, 20, and seeing, oh, is it still circular? Does it start to get more of an oval? How can you tell angle from the ejecta that comes out? I mean, even though this is clearly a child's activity, getting the academic language, getting geometry, getting kind of scientific reporting out, like really is beyond its years, right? So again, am I saying I'm going to do this with my college chem students? No, but you'd be surprised at how far a demo or a discussion can go when it comes to those types of things. Perhaps for something a little bit more age appropriate, I'll tell you guys, again, now I mentioned my role is this kind of heavenly place where I get to be a scientist and an educator. So one of the things I got to do was drive the rover on Mars, which was just an incredible experience. Obviously, I am not technically qualified to do that. So I have somebody like here and 12 other people like, the second I push the wrong button, they're going to be like, absolutely not. But it was really cool. And for me, again, wearing the educator cap, it was super exciting to see where all of this talk of like why computer science is important goes. So this is the program I am showing you. I had to get clearance and you can see some of it's blurred out. This is the code to operate the rover. So these are the instructions we send Curiosity twice a day to go and execute some amazing feats. So we say things like, extend the arm, twist the wrist, point the camera, come back, how's energy looking, etc. And don't forget, we are, effectively 16 minutes of light there and back between Mars. So this is not real time. There's not a dude with a joystick, right? You have to send a code. It goes to an orbiter. The orbiter beams it down to the rover. You got to wait for the orbiter to come back, get the results, and then send them, right? This is a very, very delicate dance. So these are actual pictures I took on Mars, which, I'm not saying they're going to win a Pulitzer or anything, but like it was a really cool experience. And this is from the Hascam, so you can see the arm extended and the camera looking at this this rock sample. So now again, why do I care about this? Because again, it fuels the kind of lessons we want our kids to be doing. So if I show you guys another lesson here. So here's a lesson we put together on coding on Mars. So we have this, this is the younger version, which is using Scratch. If you guys haven't used Scratch, everyone should be using Scratch. It's super fun. And again, same thing, step by step, different sections to learn different skills, and then kind of with that constructionist idea, now put all these skills together and build me something awesome. Again, as an instructor, absolute dream come true, because the kids just send me a link to their program, and I don't need to be here just like running my mouth nonstop. I wait, and they communicate, they cheat. Again, I call that collaboration in my book. And then they send me a final program. This is easier than doing it the old-fashioned way, right? I can't for the life of me figure out why teachers are still just writing on chalkboards and dry erase boards, right? We have a similar lesson using Python, and I'm building out our Python activity series as well for more advanced sections. One thing I wanted to kind of highlight too then was this idea of not just activities but demos as well. Even just anything to get like online instruction to just be a little bit more bearable, right? How do we chunk these lessons into kind of engaging pieces? So here's a picture of the engineering model of curiosity. If you guys don't know, you always have one at home and one at the destination, right? That way, if a problem is, reported at the one on Mars, you can kind of tinker with a, real life one here. And it's really interesting because we actually we'll break this one to make sure it's representative of the one on Mars. So if a circuit goes out or if a tire is punctured, a wheel, not a tire, then we'll intentionally do that here because all future tests need to, of course, be apples to apples. So this gives us a chance to kind of do testing, to do operations and fixes. Like if you've seen on Insight, that mission, we've been setting up labs to fix it here so we can fix it on Mars, right? When something's broken on Mars, it's broken on Mars, right? There's no Pep Boys for me to kind of roll this thing into, so everything has to be done here to make it representative. So what we did is we built actually what's called Spacecraft 3D. So it's got a little like rocky terrain printout with a QR code embedded, and you can actually drive with your iPad or your phone. You can drive and operate the rover just on your tabletop like I'm doing here. So, with the pushes of buttons, you can extend the arm and sample a rock. You can turn and drive away. And we have this for all sorts of missions. If you want to launch a rocket or deploy a CubeSat. So it's you want to go to different planets and look at missions there. Just kind of like cool tech that, again, I could do this off of my my webcam, and it's just kind of neat to see. Again, like looking at just crazy lessons, I do this with my my high school physics kids, and like I hope that doesn't seem silly, but we'll talk through it. So this is a bunch of just little stupid cardboard racers I had the kids make, right? Because the context here is if you look at the top left picture, you're seeing a picture of the Curiosity wheel shortly after landing. And then the bottom left picture is the Curiosity wheel about a year ago. This is even old. Times are tough on Mars, right? There's no nice paved roads to kind of gently saunter down. So like these wheels are getting torn up. So I like to tell kids, like, you're going to build the next best rover. Now, for younger kids, it's all about just the design of the wheel, right? What's the best shape? Is it this little perfect circle or this kind of saw blade or throwing star kid over here? That one's not it. But for my high school kids, it's conservation of energy. So for them, their bigger task, and I honestly believe that you could do this with an intro physics class in community college for sure, is I have them determine the elastic constant of their rubber band based on how much kinetic energy they get out. So they weigh their rover, they twist it up, they get the delta X for the extension, they figure out the velocity once they deploy, and they have to back calculate the K value for that rubber band, right? No fancy materials. This is a cereal box, a pencil, and 2 lifesaver mints, right? That's what I'm talking about here, is like we can do incredible physics, incredible chemistry by going into the kitchen, right? One of the coolest examples I've seen of this, I'm kind of tempted to like make you guys do this, but we'll just talk through it. Just for fun. This is a fun game. I want you guys to imagine that you are on a boat floating on a lake, right? So the Dixie cup in this picture is your boat, and the larger plastic cup filled with water, that's the lake. Now you got some cargo represented by, or an anchor or whatever, some washers, some pennies, whatever. If I throw that cargo overboard, what happens to the water level in the lake? Does it go up, does it go down, or does it stay the same? So again, I'm in a lake, I throw my anchor overboard into the lake. What happens to the water level on the lake? Although imperceptibly small, does it go up, down, or stay the same? You guys are gonna make a prediction for me. If I have the materials in my pantry, I'm gonna do this so that you guys make predictions while I look. Why don't I see predictions? Type them. In case you guys can't tell what kind of teacher I am. I'm not a teacher that asks twice, let me tell you that. There we go. Ooh, nice. Okay, so we're all over the map, which is awesome because you guys are these science teaching experts, right? So that's fun. It's fun that there's absolutely no agreement. I wish I could find a Dixie cup, but I can't. So I'll just have to spoil it. You'll have to try at home. I have a photo of it. The water level actually goes down. So everyone that said up or stays the same is incorrect. The water level actually goes down. So seeing this picture now, do you guys know why? Does like the visual help? Now that you know the answer, can you guess why? Or anyone that guessed? Yeah, Kendra, absolutely, right? Kendra's got it. There's less volume displaced because the density of my cargo is greater than 1. My cup is, the buoyant force downward is replacing a certain amount of water, right? So the water is displaced by the amount of force down of my boat. Once the cargo is off the boat, I'm only displacing the volume of my cargo, right? So now all of a sudden, the water still is displaced, but not nearly as much as when the whole boat was pushing down. All I've done here is effectively, if you guys remember like the old Eureka Archimedes kind of thing, right? Like he stepped in the bathtub and the water floated filled over, right? This is just that in reverse, right? So pretty neat, right? Like all of you are really bad at this, and that's awesome because like that's kind of the point, right? I want the cognitive dissonance. I want you guys to like think about things, and it's just a super silly demo. It's super fun. Yeah, so we have tons and tons of stuff like this on the education website. Like the one thing I do have here, because I did it earlier, I was talking to students about the inverse square law, right? Inverse square law is a real tough one because like the idea of light moving 3-dimensionally is kind of confusing. So how do I do that? I model that with a balloon. So if I just take a balloon and I drew a little 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter square on it, right? And now all I do is I inflate the balloon, right? What happens to my square? 2 things happen. First of all, it gets larger, right, as it's stretched out. But you can probably also see the color fades, right? So my signal is getting weaker as it reaches me, right, as the light kind of is spread out. And this is of particular interest. Let's get that over with. particular interest, again, if you're on Jupiter versus on Earth, where Jupiter is 5 times the distance from the sun. So like, what would the sun look like in the sky? How could you operate something with solar power at that distance, right? So like, this is the game. This is what not just online instruction, but in-person instruction should be rich with. Why wouldn't I do this? Why wouldn't I do the little water demo, right? Break up the lecture, have a little bit of excitement, have kids participate a little bit. So that's kind of the end of section 1. Chapter 1 is closed. I wanted to highlight again just kind of some of the science and opportunity side too. So like for example, last year was probably one of the best years I had in science. Really the trip of a lifetime. I got to go on a research expedition in the Pacific. I did this with Bob Ballard. If you don't know that name, he's the guy that discovered the Titanic. And he's very, very famous, not just for that, but in the science world, because he uses these remotely operated vehicles, these robotic submarines that go up to 4 kilometers into the ocean and just do some incredible, incredible work. So the NASA project with him was testing out this robotic arm that you see on the top left that we would potentially send somewhere like Europa or Enceladus, these water moons in space, where we want to look at geology and potentially find alien life. You can see on the top right that a robotic arm gripping this pillow basalt and trying to like rip at it so that we can grab rock samples. Now again, like whether you're a kid, an adult, scientist, layman, there is nothing more exciting in science right now than Europa. The fact that there is a giant floating ocean in our solar system with more water than all of Earth combined, right? Like this is the place. This is where we want to go. I know JPL loves Mars. Fine. Mars is neat. But it's neat because it's close. In terms of like where life could be, Europa, for sure. So it was an incredible opportunity. I was at sea for 26 days, I think, no land, which was a change of pace for sure. And you just see some amazing, amazing life down there. Quite literally, we are the first thing that this life has ever seen, right? We were charting waters that are unmapped. And that's just kind of crazy to think about. I think only the number is 10% of Earth's oceans are currently mapped, which is just wild. So to be down there was like the absolutely new frontier. The bottom right, you'll see this this octopus slash vampire squid kind of, I can't remember what they decided it was. And it inflated like a circus tent to try to like intimidate the sub. It was just an incredible thing to see. So opportunities like that exist both for students and for teachers. And I thought I would just highlight a couple of them. The one I'm working on now actually is with Sophia. So this is a nebula that I'm studying. And I tagged 5 of my kids as interns on this project. So I have 5 of my high school students, and we're looking at these orange dots you see here in the middle. This is what we call the nebula stream. And these orange dots are stars that have just recently begun fusion. They've just turned on. And we're trying to understand that process. So what does it mean for a star to accrete and ignite? And that's kind of our research now using Spitzer, the old Spitzer data, a mission that was retired just a few months ago. So I put some links here on my slides. And again, I thought I would just kind of show you the websites in particular. For NASA internships, if we're looking at this, the same site I showed you guys, there's an intern section right here. If you click on that, you'll see a little bit about it. And there are applications based on who you are, where are you from, right? So if you're like an undergraduate and you want a year-round thing, we even have one specifically for community college kids called NCAS, right? I'm going to put that in the chat. So the NCAS community college internship is like a little program. They come out and work with us for a couple weeks in the summer, stuff like that. But again, for other students too at, you know, four-year universities, for graduate students, and even one for high school students, which is currently unavailable, obviously because of COVID, where high school kids can't really work remotely without, you know, some real supervision. Tons of partner programs as well. This one in particular, again, this is the one I was kind of referencing for. This is, I mean, I'm telling you, these internships are not, this is not space camp. Like, this is research. These kids will do research. And I'm, again, if you can tell the kind of teacher I am, my kids are working. So like we're sitting there going through data, we're identifying stars, we're processing this, and like they might discover something truly new and cool. A lot of the kids that come out for the internships, especially in the summer, do a lot of programming. So there are opportunities for other fields, certainly for chemistry and engineering, stuff like that. Programming is the easiest one because they can hit the ground running. But we even have them for art. We even have them for web design because, you know, communicating with the public is such a huge thing at JPL and NASA as a whole. So we take interns really in all fields. So yeah, this NITARP one I think is really fantastic. This is really legit research through Caltech. And then another one I thought, again, this is the Nautilus one that I was on. Let's just tag it right here. So you can join, again, both as a scientist or as a teacher or as a student. I mean, this organization I can't say enough about. Absolutely the trip of a lifetime. And again, I was not there for fun, right? This is not a like, oh, you're the guest, you're gonna sit on the side with a diary and write cool poems about this. No, my shift was from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it was work, sleep, eat, like repeat for 28 days. And it was just insane. Oh, there's me. Hey, what do you know? Who's that handsome scientist in the back there? And then the last one, and this one is more teacher facing. I don't think they have a student program. But this one is to fly on Sophia. So this is the mission that actually flies above the stratosphere, and it has a telescope out the back. See if they have a picture of it. So since they're above the atmosphere, they don't have interference from water vapor, and they can look in the infrared without interference. I mean, just incredible. This is a little bit more science instruction-y and not researchy, whereas these are research. Like, you will be inundated and have a lot of background work to do. So I saw something pop up. Open data sets for student research. Yeah. So there's tons and tons of that, like citizen science work, like all the Zooniverse stuff, which now has all of the data from tests. I think the test data, I'm pretty sure it just came in. So a lot of like the NASA research or NASA data comes down here. So like all of these satellites and stuff like that, all of our missions, all of that data is publicly available, all of it. You as taxpayers have the same access to it as we do. We just get it first. So you guys can actually like look for exoplanets. You can look for new stars and comets and stuff like that. Pretty sure the test stuff is out. Yeah, here it is. This is specifically looking at exoplanets. So trying to find other Earth-like planets in the universe. Pretty neat stuff. How do you get raw data sets outside of this? Well, it certainly depends. It's mission to mission. So there's not like a one-stop shop for all space missions. So you'd have to kind of walk through all of these. So if you wanted to get like Spitzer data set, you can get all that archive here. Same thing for any other mission. Yeah, I think that's it. So I want to make sure that you guys have, this is my JPL email. Now, again, I'm not technically here in a JPL format, but if you enjoyed the resources you saw from the JPL site, you know, I'm trying to be I'm trying to navigate the space here between the grant and my role. But anything I can do as Brandon, the JPLer in the education department, for you, for your students, please reach out to that email address. I'm absolutely happy to help out. I love this gig. I love what we do. And being able to share it is one of the best things of the job. So please reach out if I can help out in any way. So with that, I'll pause. I'll give the rest of the time for questions. I hope you guys enjoy.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. And Brandon, thanks. Great presentation. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask for Brandon? We have about 5 more minutes.
Hey, Brandon, this is Kendrick again.
Yeah.
Just first of all, awesome presentation. And second of all, as we look at like teachers or parents who have become teachers now and try to figure out how to make these things work, is there a sort of like starting place you would suggest, just to kind of get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So the teaching space one, like I mentioned at the top, is a little bit more, as you would imagine, a little bit more teachery. We actually built out, exactly for Kendrick's question, the analog, the learning space. So this is, again, kind of more student-driven at home. Here are some things for you to play with. And you'll see it even has like the family FAQ, how to get started and stuff like that. Because yeah, absolutely, like what an insane burden to be at home trying to teach science to your kid. So yeah, this is kind of our way to hopefully lighten that load.
Gotcha. I figure parents could definitely use some asynchronous material.
Yeah. Anything other than slapping them in front of the TV, right? Is there particular programming training online that works well? Some students start with one. Yeah, so as mentioned, monthly we do sessions like this, and I'll always have a theme for them. So it might be coding month. It might be, again, like something more culturally responsive. It might be just engineering like the last one. So we try to align to a theme that would pop up. If you or your organization or people need professional development, that's my job. And it is free. It is $0. I'm already paid to do it. So, anything that your staff wants, or if you know a teacher that's kind of struggling with this, please pass along my email so that I can happily do like a session on robotics. I get asked a lot, mostly by districts, but I will do individual schools, absolutely, if I know that it's going to go to good use. I also have a giant box here, just so you don't think I'm kidding. This is what I took from my office. This is just full of merch. This is free merch for teachers and students who want it. So it's just filled with NASA stickers, bookmarks, notebooks, anything. So, if you, or, again, your students, if you shoot me an email and say, mail me some gifts, I will 100% do that as well. Everyone loves a NASA sticker. Classroom management is just holding up a NASA sticker and saying, who has the answer?
All right. Well, thanks again, Brandon, for awesome NASA education talk. So everyone have a great rest of the day, and I hope to see you all next week.